Though it kills me to say it, this is the last of 5 sessions of Legacy Life Among the Ruins here on the Gauntlet Hangouts. Legacy is a PBTA game of generational post-apocalyptic world building with a lot of other modules done by Jay Isles. And I wanted to make sure in this final episode that I said her name right. So I highly recommend it. I really do. And I recommend picking up the physical form. I enjoyed reading it in PDF, but the physical form is beautiful. It's really good. So our group last time we did the turning of the age, sort of the last of the follow-up from that at the beginning of the session. And then we did a lot of family moves, a lot of high-level moves throughout the session last time. So today we're going to see what we need to zoom in on, what we need to do to follow up from those things. We'll do our usual structure. We'll have the mid-session break. And then I definitely want to try and take like 15 minutes at the end to talk about the game, and so on, just to get people's thoughts and stars and wishes, that kind of thing. When we get to the last 30 minutes before that, you may see me start to like hard frame some things a little bit more tightly, just so we can kind of see if we can get to closure on a few things. But we may not. I don't know. This game is so big. And just to remind everyone, the X card is on the table. It is our safety tool of choice for these sessions. If something bugs you, if it's off tone or material or problematic, feel free to X card it, even if it's something that has gone by before. Just want to remind everybody what tools we are using at the table. And also to annoy anyone who doesn't like safety tools who may be watching the video. So there we go. Let's start out. Last time, we added quite a few things, and there were various shifts of surpluses, I believe, things that changed around. And I want to do just a quick, go around 1 minute, where do you think your family's at? What's your family's goal right now? Walter, if you had to give us just a quick pitch on that, where would you think your family is at and looking towards?
So the Bayou are sitting pretty. We've been accumulating surpluses. We have been honoring our debts to our neighbors, and we have been really flexing our muscle as well. Making sure that that all of the less civilized peoples have us to prop them up and take care of them. And I think we just want to continue that. I think one particular goal that we have is there is this new group that is formed nearby, these morphosyncretics that are sort of taking advantage of all this. There's been an awful lot of morphological changes and kind of weird technology around that. And I think that the Bayou now see this as a little bit of a philosophical threat. And we kind of want to push that group to embrace birdness as more of the prototype of what the morphological form other people should have.
So the objection is less a question of erasure and more a question of what direction you want that syncretics to go.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like this is so rampant that it's like this sort of shape-shifting just seems to be I think the generation that fought that has passed, and the generation that just accepted that, okay, we're all changing forms, that's just the way the world is now, is kind of taken over. And we're like, all right, well, if we're all going to change forms, let's all change everybody into birds.
Oof. interesting, a world of identity and biological change and what that does to the sort of the mind body problem and those kinds of thoughts. Patrick, tell me where the Primogen are.
So the Primogen have become much more insular since the last age. They've moved into a lot of like mysticism and sort of arguments about the proper ways to conduct biological experiments or prayers or whatever they are. And they become a lot more insular and focused on their own defense. They've cultivated, bioengineered a subset of the cultivar machine race and made them sort of plant crystal based, set them up as a defense wall between them and the killing fields. They've even started experimenting and making like war mounts and specialized breeds of them and things like that. It definitely won't backfire at any point.
Right.
The society in general is much more focused around that, like, we've got this town of sapling that we've built up and we need to protect it and just keep everything we've got. Whereas Moda, my character, who's lived more of his life like outside the wall of the Tivar, has like picked up that dream of the communing with Drazzle and moving in there again, has found some allies for that within... Oh, damn it, Walter's people. I'm terrible at names.
Vaju.
Vaju, that's it. Or Vayu,
Vaju.
Vaju
Vaju is another character, sorry.
Yes. We'll get there. Coffee is kicking in. I can feel it. But yeah, so he's much more interested in that dream. In that sort of dichotomy, the family has responded to threats like the killing fields and the approaching kaiju by giving away all of their surpluses so that they don't have to get involved personally, whereas Moda is much more interested in building up those surpluses so he can do that big project. That's sort of where
Excellent. I am. Yes, excellent. Then let's come to Ari. Tell us about the Starg and where the Starg are at.
Yeah, so I've got the Starg family has become sort of moving from a nomadic people more and more to sort of sequestered around the cultivar, and we're becoming more and more enmeshed with them. I guess there's themes of enculturation happening there. We're trying to, assimilate them, and I wouldn't be against the idea of all this hubris coming crashing down on the heads of the Starg. So just putting that out there.
Okay.
We've got neighbors over from the Beyonders who we started to build a relationship with, symbiotic relationship. On a personal character level, as far as like my hunter, I would be interested to see him or they go over to deal with the Carcaraptors, or even maybe take down the Behemoth if that's a possibility.
We will see. We will see. Thank you. That gives me a good sense. The Starg coasting in on hubris. I like that as a summary. Which brings us to Darren. Darren, our fine Order of a Titan, the Bastion. Where are they at?
They just gotta go kill a kaiju. That's it. We're just gonna aim for that.
Okay.
I wanna stop it before it gets too bad. I think.
Yeah. So let me ask you. We can start with you. I don't know if you want to do a family move before you zoom in, or we want to do any kind of setup on this. What do you think?
Oh, let's see. Yeah. Because I was thinking about the first thing we need to do is like get some good positioning if we're gonna go like stomping into this compound area, Compound Mother Archive. We should have named that region, that whole area. So maybe I want to the first like action my family takes is to claim the underworld. So we have a staging area.
Okay. So this is sort of claim by force then?
Yeah.
Okay. So that seems reasonable. It's something you talked about as a means of securing some surplus.
Mm.
Let me check in with anybody else if anybody else is acting or affecting that move before I move to have him resolve that as he moves on to Underworld. So tell me what that looks like then, Darren. How does a Bastion move to seize this place?
The flock of flying mounts as we soar over the Sorrow Domes. Let's see. I said it was a sinkhole, so there's certainly some rappelling going on to get down there. I'm thinking of what makes it like what. Oh, you know what? We have this adaptive camouflage robes. So maybe this is like sort of standard and everything in all of our like temporary buildings and forward bases and all that stuff. So I think maybe we like move into the sinkhole and then it's like we just cover it up so it doesn't look like there's even a sinkhole there anymore.
Nice.
Booby trapped and all that good stuff.
So let's have you roll. Then you are rolling with grasp.
Yeah, I think my grasp is 0. Yeah, a good.
Do you have any tech?
Nope. I've got nothing. And it's a 6.
It is a 6 now. You could ask for another family to throw their weight behind you, especially if they, if you have treaty on them, you could ask for that.
That's true.
See if they'd be willing to do that without, necessarily doing a roll, but just eliminate treaty to try and lend aid. What do you think?
I like that. Let me look me up here. I like that. Oh, man, I could really go with almost anybody. I have a lot of treaties on the Starg, so I'm gonna call on them. Maybe this is where we I get this whatever tech or something. Not necessarily mechanically right, but maybe it's the same thing where they're scientific and technological.
Well, I do have a whole lot of tech.
So, Bastian, do you want to aid? Stark, do you want to aid the Bastion in seizing control of this underworld area?
Let me look at that map. Where's that underworld area?
It is in the sort of Midwest.
Oh, I see it. It's that horizontal bar. Yeah, that's close to the compound. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why wouldn't I help you?
Well, then, why don't you roll with grasp to assist?
Okay. Got 0 grasp. Just roll these 2 red dice here. Oh, I got 11.
Got an 11. Then, and actually, you would roll treaty with them, which is even better. But anyway, you give them fleeting advantage, which means that you may roll another die, Darren, and take the 2 highest.
How about that treaty?
And how much treaty is it just 1, you think, for that, you 2? You muted.
Yes, I was. Maybe 2? Because I really want to get this.
Stark, were you good with that?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Feeling good today.
Unfortunately, I rolled a 1.
You rolled a 1.
So it's just a clean fail.
So claim by force, and things went terribly wrong there.
Man.
So let me look at this here.
I can imagine all the things that I didn't expect.
So I think what we see is this: is you send the people in, and the underworld hasn't yet been explored.
Right.
And I think that's the point at which we know that there's a kaiju that's been out there, this behemoth. And I think that this is the point at which we realize that this underworld that opened up, the reason it opened up is because it's a nest. And I think we see another very different behemoth emerge out onto the stage there. What's the thing that makes this behemoth more dangerous than the first one?
Oh. Let's see. It came from underground. It's more dangerous. I think that it's a like invisible terror sort of thing. So whatever happened, the reason we couldn't claim it by force is because all of my forces like killed each other because of good bacteria or something.
So we've got a kind of a behemoth that has some kind of psychic manifestations that causes problems, that causes hallucinations, gets inside people's minds, that is starting to move across the landscape there. And in particular, circling your people right now. And that's going to have to be dealt with before you can move on the other behemoth. And that's going to be a problem. Essentially, this is to steal a start from Rosewater. The behemoth, it has these kind of micro tendrils that are going out and psychically infesting the people and causing these issues. So that's on the table. So let's go to the uplifted children, if I may, unless somebody's like, oh, I need to go next. Walter, you will pick up word that something has been released in the West. And that's actually pretty close to some of your areas there. The Griffin Nomads are friends, and the Corbell is close by.
Yeah, we have interest in the Corbell. The Griffin Nomads is where we get a lot of our surplus from, and and they're bird-like like us too. So we definitely feel an affinity for them, even if they are somewhat uncultivated in their ways.
Yeah, they're uncultivated. That's a good way to put it.
So yeah, I'm thinking it might be a good idea to deal with this kaiju somehow. Now, what would be a good way to deal with a kaiju? Is there a family move for dealing with a kaiju though? That's not like that's not quite a claim by force, right? That's more like, would kaiju be considered like a faction?
They could be considered a faction. In this case, they have a thing called right tool for the right job. When your family uses resources to confront a crisis, erase an appropriate surplus, and mitigate or resolve the problem. So there's kind of a fictional narrative thing that can be done for how you want to deal with the kaiju. And that's not a rolled maneuver. The people who have advantage when doing rolls are the Bastion, and they can kind of shape what they're going to do with rolled moves because they can spend their hold to assist on that. So really there are a couple of different ways we can define this depending on what you want.
Okay, so I should just think about it fictionally, and then we'll figure out how that might work.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So wow, so there's like a psychic thing going on here, which is crazy because you know, the Vayu, we're all about like physical power. So this psychic stuff is creeping us out. I think maybe the Vayu have learned that our best bet in this kind of situation is to try and gain some knowledge, try and gain some data from the opposition, and then take it to those nerds, the Starg or the Primogen, in this case probably the Starg, and let them, like, you know, figure out the details. So we might like try and go on like a data reconnaissance thing to try and figure out if we can like bring back something, some useful knowledge about the psychic powers of these things. Maybe we want to. So there's reports that this is like a nest. Maybe we want to go try and rob the nest, see if there's like eggs or younglings or, you know, something in there that we can take away that might be more amenable to like experimentation and something like that.
All right. Do you think that it'd be claimed by force, or do you want to do a zoom in? How would you like to do that?
That's a good question.
Because expeditions into dangerous places have gone so well for everyone so far.
Yeah, right. And I haven't done one of those yet. Okay, and I'm thinking the character that I came up with isn't maybe the most, well, I don't know. What do we know about these kaiju? The character I came up with is really good with like diplomacy kind of moves. I know I could either make a quick character, or maybe the kaiju are like, maybe we can like speak with them at some level. Maybe there's some kind of diplomacy thing for kaiju. I don't know.
Well, we've got actually sort of 3 kaiju flavors on the table. The Neapolitan of kaiju. We've got the original kaiju, the larger beast that we know about that has presented as a threat based on the alert last time, and that's I believe a more conventional. It's the nanite kaiju.
And they're somewhat. They fly. They're not necessarily bird-like. They just are airborne. Or
I don't think we established them as airborne yet.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason they were. Okay. They're more like, those are the ones that look like the Carceraptors?
Yeah, that's the second flavor I was going to talk about. So the first kaiju is one of the is a Godzilla style big thing that is moving across in the wastelands up there in the northwest. The second one are the Carceraptors, which we don't know much about, save that the Starg have been interacting with them and have gotten pushed back by them. They attacked the Carceraptors, and the Carceraptors got smart and fell on them. And then we've got this new beast that has emerged with the psychic tendrils and so on. And I'm going to have Darren name it. I put a little lightning bolt for it on the map. So give us a name for our psychic beast. So of the ones that we've seen, the one that seems like the most possible for sort of communication diplomacy would be the Carceraptors. And then we don't know much about this psychic thing. Maybe it's intelligent. Maybe not.
Wow. All right.
I'd like to throw out, just to refresh from last session, I had this idea for simulating the Carceraptors with the cultivar to create sort of this centaur hybrid, but I never really followed through with that.
Well, you didn't follow through with it because you tried to capture them and they went berserkies on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify, but yeah, that's a possibility. We know that there's a certain amount of intelligence there.
Okay, so
talk to the Carceraptors.
Wow. All right. So this would be like a zoom in to talk to the Carceraptors and convince them to get us some kind of resource we can use for data from the unnamed psychic behemoth.
I love
the
this
Hemion.
idea. I think this is a great idea.
What could go wrong?
Well, because a lot of your abilities actually play into this super well. So let's have everybody jump over to Walter's tab.
Also,
yeah,
I'd love if anybody is interested in bringing their main characters in for this, as opposed to just quick PCs, would be cool too.
Yeah. Would anybody else go along on this mission to try and persuade / bring in the Carcaraptors? Ari, do you think that that's something that Nuri would do?
Yeah, possibly.
What do you think? Do you want to do that, or do you want to do a quick character?
I'll go with Nuri.
Okay. Darren, what about you? Is that something Pale would do, or quick character?
You're a quick character.
Okay. And then Patrick, what about for you and Mota?
You mean going into the monster's underground nest? Yeah, I'm good on that, I think.
Yeah.
Your family has some stories, but I will happily play quick characters.
Okay. So then,
out of character, I haven't had a chance to do that zoom out bonus.
Yeah. So let's have Walter and Ari have their characters established. And so Darren and Patrick, if you could make up a quick character. I'm going to take this couple minutes. I'm going to go refill my coffee while you do that, and then we'll come back and see where everybody's at, if that's okay.
Okay.
Walter, you may have already said this. What is the bonus stat for the uplifted children? Do you know what those two picks are?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's sway and steal.
Okay. Copy to this. I put the quick character numbers in there below the stats too. Oops. The outsider on the quick character is always a delight. Darren, are you set to tell us about your quick character?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so we've got the value, the uplifted children, the bird-like. And actually, before I have you introduce, let's have Walter once again remind us about what your player character looks like, and then we'll have Ari do that as well to give us some context here.
Okay, yeah. So I'm bringing Vuju, feminine, a surly face, passionate eyes, graceful body. Vuju, which is supposed to sound a bit like cuckoo bird, is a firebrand. She is all about fomenting revolution and stirring up trouble in other groups. And also, I'm going to bring a group of followers. The Vayu are a very social group. They tend to travel in groups, if you haven't noticed yet. And so I'm going to have some followers as well as part of the gearing up.
Absolutely, and you get to kind of choose for each of your surpluses. You get a benefit. You can add a tag, get as many copies of a weapon that you want, add one to the quality of followers, or get scout reports worth of data. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 resources, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to get a bunch of picks on that. And then Ari, tell us about Nuri and his role in all of this.
Yeah, Nuri's basically has come into greater prominence in the Stark family because of this sudden appearance over the last couple of years of all these kaiju. They're a renowned hunter. We used to be sort of more nomadic, but now that we're collecting a lot of these figures in our family that were unknown or are becoming, more prominent within the family circle. Ambiguous, scarred face from the time that Moda left me for dead. There's a deep scar that runs across my face, and dressed in camo with lots of cables and apparatus and heavy weapons hanging off of them.
Excellent. Which now, let's come back to Maka of the Vayu. Tell us about Maka, Darren.
Maka, I was thinking of that like flying warrior class you talked about, Walter. So I'm thinking of Maka as being from them. So Maka, I think, is very like self-serious and to the point, and I think greatly distrusts these kaiju raptors, kaiju raptors. And then colors. I didn't think about that, but I saw the neon and cyber plumage on Ibis, so now I want color too.
Okay.
And not neon. I think it's maybe like I said hawkish. I just want it to be like a mottled gray, something that shows some age and some conflict. Maybe there's even like patches of feather missing somewhere where there's just like scar tissue. If that's how birds work, I don't know.
They do now.
They do now. In this post-apocalypse. And then I chose agent, and I was still trying to think of what my narrow field to be an expert in. And I don't know why I picked agent. I never know what to do for a narrow field I'm an expert in. Let me just can I just declare it?
Yeah, I'm more than happy with that. That seems a fair and easier way to go with that. Because then it'll get used. Ibis, tell us about Ibis.
So he's he's been out of the main society for a long time. I think he's like one of the sort of resource scouts for the Vayu that just range far and wide trying to find anything useful that like the warriors and the sort of stronger people can come in and grab or make use of. I think he looks a lot less like traditionally bird-like than a lot of the other Vayu, just in that he's integrated a lot of what he's found out in the wasteland into his body. So there's like cyber replacements for stuff and like enhanced colors on his plumage and like metal feathers and things like that. So his strange ability is with lore, and he's got the like heightened animal senses. So I just think there are like things that he's woven into his senses in his brain that sort of like take that weird magnetic sense that birds have and like ups it and ups a lot of his natural gifts so that he intuits or like taps into the sort of ambient psychic field to get information about stuff.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Not
Okay.
see you yet.
Yeah, I had a weird thing where I was sweeping between tabs, and it's doing this thing where it's... Hang on one second.
Computers.
It's the cultivar. I blame the cultivar.
They're coming for us.
Sorry, I don't know.
I forgot to mention my characters has some of those crystalline and plant-like features fused into their body from the cultivar influence.
I apologize. Here we go.
Oh,
There we go. They got the tab. It caught up. That was a weird processor thing. Hang on. Let me turn off a couple of these background processes that are probably causing problems. Okay. So what we're going to see is this group, essentially are two significant members from the Starg and the Vayu. And then a couple of agents are the people that Vuju, did you trust these people to bring along, or is it more of a question of being assigned these people?
Yeah, I think that I do trust them. I think I trust them both very much. I think Ibis is very much like kind of I'm trusting Ibis to like this is unknown territory to some degree, and definitely an unknown group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely trusting on Ibis's heightened senses and experience in the wasteland. Ibis was carefully chosen to guide us, even though Ibis is very different. Like, we recognize that Ibis is super important for this mission, and then Maka is. I think Maka might actually even be like the lieutenant who's in charge of the followers. So I have this group of followers, which are pretty badass. They're +3 quality total, or total of 3 quality. And I think I got them like hardened outfit, and I decided to go with a hidden weapon so people won't see this weapon as a danger. And so I'm imagining that like, if Darren's cool with this, that Maka is like basically, you know, the commander of that force that is like, you know, going along with Vuju, who is like kind of like the you know, Vuju's like more of a social instigator, and I think that like Maka's force they're like definitely trained in combat, but like they're good at like you know, like basically like, you know, rabble rousing as well as kind of, you know, they're like this sort of, I don't know, elite squad of rabble rousers basically.
So as we move down into this southern area, we're further away from what I'll call the source of plant changes up in the north, of plant mutagens that has, you know, both the primogen and other things where we've certainly seen plant biology prove to be unusual. And we're down here into an area that has less of the wild craziness, but it is dense and tall and overgrown. And we have a mixture of probably high grass, some of it wheat, you know, scrub grass, things like that. Grass that has grown tall, you know, like corn high and so on, and probably scattered trees, the equivalent of bamboo and things like that, that have also mixed in this weird patchiness. Because imagine that all of these plant strains would have been cultivated and domesticated and been built so they could survive in almost any environment. So it's a matter of them battling each other for survival rather than a question of temperature and so on. And so you are moving through the wasteland. You have to go through unoccupied territory to get to where these raptors are at. So I need someone to roll wasteland survival. Who of your characters? And that is a steel roll.
See, that's a steel roll. I mean, it sounds like that would be Ibis. Does that make sense? Yeah, that looks pretty good. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah. I think he can definitely take to the air a couple of times and scout the area and come back with hopefully some good observations and not horrible failures. I mean, what?
Let's have you roll.
Steel. Oh, well, that's a 3.
That is a 3.
Wow.
Now, after failing a roll as well as you'd like, say what another character nearby can do to boost your efforts. The group agrees. Helper says how they do it and rolls an appropriate stat.
Let's see. I think it's Maka, actually. I'm so used to scouting dangers for one that I'm just not thinking about the bigger profile that this whole group is giving us.
Does that seem right for you, sir?
Yeah.
And what do you think is the appropriate stat for assisting on this survival?
I think steel still, because I think maybe I see Ibis take off, and I'm like, oh god, and I just have my whole little cadre take off after Ibis. I'm like, okay, let's do this correctly, please.
Let's have you roll.
Reroll. Oh, that's a 4. I'm cursed today.
We're killing it.
Oh man.
So you all move through this area. And one of the things that you weren't expecting that becomes clear as you get down further into here is that the grasses and things around here, there is pollen and burrs and spores. And it's not that you are attacked by anything, but that you're a few days in before you realize you need to be wearing rebreathers. And I think everybody's going to suffer one level of harm. That is going to get past armor. But you'll realize that this is something you're going to need to deal with. So how do you think you're going to solve this problem What's the technique that you're going to use, Walter?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just off of my animal senses of when you investigate a scene, you can ask the GM one question based on your inhuman senses.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, is this whole like plant life sort of impeding us and pollen rising up and all these problems that we're coming across, are they natural or is there some force directing this?
You will realize it is natural. It is not controlled. You've seen a lot of things that have been controlled before, but this is just a factor of this environment down here.
Cool. Okay.
So let me come back to Vuju, or to Nuri. How are you going to diffuse this situation?
Yeah, so Nuri, my thought was we can, so I have, my thought was we can go and try and talk to some of the like outlier groups originally, you know, just like see if we can find some stray Carteraptors, and since your group's had a lot more experience with them, maybe you can help to facilitate you know, my talking to them. And basically I think I can like find out you know, things that maybe ways that they feel oppressed. Everybody feels oppressed for some reason. The value hear about this all the time, you know, and we've learned how we can twist this and use this to our advantage. So I want to talk to them, to these Carceraptors, and you know, start asking questions basically.
So I guess my question is, how are you dealing with the problem of the spores? And
we're still dealing with that. I thought we were just like taking that damage. Okay. This is an ongoing problem.
You're going to need to figure out a solution to get past it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I wasn't really clear on that.
Okay. Let's see. Now we have hardened armor, which protects against radiation, hacking, psionics, and stranger forces. Although it's not quite, I think there's a different kind of armor that's for like environmental, sealed, I guess, stemming from air, ambient infection, poison, or corrosion. I guess sealed armor would have been better than hardened armor, it turns out. I was more worried about psionics than pollen.
No, but
I have sealed armor. So maybe an idea I can propose is to break it up into pieces and just fit it onto people's faces.
Sure. That would be improvised technology. So let's have you roll lore.
Lore, right.
Now, I also have, I want to mention this. I'm not sure how much we can expand to this, but the Vayu have a family move called the Strength of the Pack, which we should use as much as we can. It says, well, it says add +1 quality, but it also says when they act as one, both character and followers roll with advantage. So whenever the like group of followers can aid us in something, we should do that.
And I think it's for you, your character. When you act together with that.
Okay.
So Ari, what did you get?
I didn't roll yet. I was sort of letting that play out. All right. So for party, I got a 6, hitting our hot streak.
Okay. Do you want to call for aid on that one?
Would be great. If someone wants to help. Getting crickets.
I'll do what I can. So would this be, how would the aid work for this?
You could
have to say how I'm assisting.
You could take your armor apart on the followers to make it, essentially to convert it to the sealed armor, I would assume.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're going to have to do that. Would that be like a lore move then as well?
I think you're spending a resource on that. So I'm going to say you can choose what you want to roll for that.
Okay, spending a resource, is that like one of the surpluses or something?
I guess what I'm saying here is because you're using up your armor and converting it from
what are those resources? Okay.
You know, essentially you're using your gear up to do that. So is that like sway for directing people, maybe?
Sure.
Okay.
I won't argue with using that one. All right, let's go with that. And it would maybe more importantly then, if I'm getting my whole team involved, would this be with advantage?
Yeah.
All right, I'll try that. Okay. So, boom. Oh, so yeah, that would be looks like a 11.
Okay. So then you get to roll one more die. Oh no, wait. Fine for aid. Okay, that pushes up a level. So you will get these rebreathers set. Essentially, have to cannibalize the armor that the Vayu brought with to make these rebreathers to protect your face and your mouth and so on from this deep pollen that is there. And you will press on a little further, and you'll actually see signs of a settlement. And you will kind of move in, observe, and Vuju, you will see not bird folk and not carchoraptors, but there's a set of humanoids. They clearly have some body mods and things like that, and they've definitely got rebreathers, and it looks almost like a very small settlement of hunters that have are living out here.
Okay, and they're humanoids that are they're on what we understand to be Carceraptor land, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. I definitely want to go and like sort of talk to them and get to know them. Probably brought like gifts, for example, and other things to like work our way into like being able to talk to them, like say, oh, we're like emissaries, we're here to like just find out about our neighbors. What I want to build toward is a words of revolution move. When you seek the counsel of the oppressed and disenfranchised, roll plus sway. On a hit, learn a secret weakness of the authorities, how to move through the area quickly and unseen, or how the authorities maintain their control.
All right, that seems fair. Let me have Ibis. Ibis has a one question per scene move. I want to give Ibis the opportunity. Do you want to ask that question now, or with your senses, or do you want to wait until after we see what that diplomacy roll looks like?
Yeah, I want to get more of a handle on the situation before I ask the question.
Then Vuju, you will approach. There's some basic sort of trade speak that probably is very basic that has been used in different places, and you'll have to kind of pull together a pigeon out of that, no pun intended. So let me have you roll with sway.
Okay. And I'm just gonna ask you this every time I roll, Lowell, is if I can have my followers help out with this, like like kind of helping to put on a show of goodwill and maybe they're like going around and like fixing up things around the town and whatever, I don't know, just like to get an advantage on my roll.
Your revolutionaries?
The revolutionaries. I mean, they're like they're like counter-revolutionaries. They're like trained for this insurgency type of revolutionary stuff. Is kind of how I'm imagining.
Okay,
Like to
let's
stir up
go
trouble.
with that because you could still fail.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Boop. I got. Well, this time it would be a 12.
A 12.
Assuming that's a roll with sway, right? Yeah, that's plus
Yeah.
sway for the words of revolution.
So they're interested to see you. They clearly know of the value, and despite the numbers that you bring with you, they're willing to allow you to stay and get refuge here, and they'll show you some tools that they have that are essentially like static generators, very basic things that they put around the outside of the encampment to draw the pollen and stuff to it to keep it clean here. And what is it you want to learn via this Words of Revolution?
Let's see. So, secret and weakness of the authorities, how to move through the area quickly and unseen, or how the authorities maintain their control. Well, I guess one interesting point is just like, who are the authorities? I think this move assumes that it's a little more obvious who the authorities are. Are these people like
people pay, have trade with, and are only here at the will and the permission of the Carcaraptors?
Okay, so they're like somehow like serfs of the Carcaraptors, or like pay a tribute to them or something like that. It sounds like. Okay. So ultimately, I want to get in with the now.
So which of the things do you want to learn?
That's a good question, because all right. So first I'm just going to telegraph my big picture goal, and then the step I think will get us there, which would be the question. So I want to, well, one thing that I don't understand yet, and maybe this is already apparent in the fiction and I've just missed it, is, are the Carcaraptors, are they like aligned with these psychic kaiju, or is it possible that they're just like
We
totally
have
separate
no
group?
idea. We have no idea what the relationship is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Well, I guess I'll either go on the assumption that it's one of two things. Either they're not related to them and they can help us find out something about them, or they are related to them, in which case we can just like maybe use the Carcaraptors as like our goal to like get an advantage over all the kaiju. So either way, I guess I want to speak to the Carcaraptors on good terms. So let's see. I'm gonna say something like a secret weakness of the authorities. Maybe they know a secret weakness of the Carcaraptors that we can then move on to like use as leverage to get what we ultimately want.
All right, let me answer that, and then I'm going to check in with the other PCs here, is what I'm going to do. What you will discover in talking to this community, and essentially their name probably just is equivalent of huntsmen, is what they call themselves, and they're people that came here from, out in the fringes that have dropped off the map, and the Carcaraptors moved in a few generations ago, maybe, and kind of imposed authority on them. The Carcaraptors, as you've seen, they tend to stay to their area, but if they get attacked, they respond with extreme violence. The problem that the Carcaraptors have right now is that, and this is their weakness that's going on, is that some of the Carcaraptors have been infected by Hemian, that those psychic tendrils have started to infect some of the Carchoraptors, and the Carchoraptors don't know what to do. Like, they do not want to be psychically possessed by a giant kaiju. That is not what they want, and so they don't know how to respond. They don't know what to do. They don't really have tech per se, and while they're not advertising it openly to these huntsmen, it's pretty clear to the huntsmen that this is a bad scene for the Carchoraptors. So let me check in with Nuri. And then I want to check in with the other two quick characters and see, with that information in hand, what you think.
Now, real quick question for
Sure.
Walter. Your character's goal here, a little twisted around. We wanted to get the Carchoraptors to align themselves with your family, right?
I think the idea was that ultimately we want information about the this kaiju nest, or what's causing their like psychic power, and we thought that this would be. I guess the idea was that they would be more approachable. Basically, we thought that this would be an easier link into what's going on than going after these giant kaiju nests directly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I've got an idea. So now that we know this we've got this wedge, we have this vulnerability, we know they have this sickness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this would be a small level move, or it could project out later as a family move. I could offer to take back some of the Carchoraptors to cure them in exchange for finding out how this disease works, so that we could have an advantage over the big kaiju. I don't know how to work that into the small level, though.
I mean, that would be Nuri going and saying, some of your people need to come with us, right?
Yeah, and maybe backing it up with some force, because we've been having this, back and forth with the Carchoraptors. Well, not really back and forth. They've been kicking our asses, but maybe we like.
So when you say force, you mean you want to intimidate, attack the Carchoraptors?
No, but just have like the arms are ready in case things escalate.
Oh, I'm sure that is always the case here when everything goes terribly wrong. So that seems to me like you're trying to find some common ground.
Yeah,
with the Carchoraptors when you call in and speak with some of them. So that would be Sway.
Okay. Look really quick at my.
If anybody wants to spend data, you can get advantage on that roll.
Now I have a move, Hunter for Hire. When you find common ground using your combat skills, this is kind of where I was getting at, as leverage. Use force instead of sway.
That's great. Yeah, let's use that.
So that's where that weapon, having the gear and the weapons and my
perfect
background.
Okay. I like that lean in. I like when you can switch to those things.
So that's force, which I have a 1 in force. These rolls tonight. Total of a 6.
Total of a 6. Do you want to call for aid?
Yes, I'm going to call for aid because I know what's coming.
Who helps you with this negotiations?
Let's bring in someone who's been a little quiet in the scene, perhaps.
I was trying to think of what Maka's against.
Maybe Moda? Got something Moda? Well, not Moda, but the character you're playing there.
Oh, me? Sorry, names.
Yeah.
Ibis?
Yeah.
Ibis? Yeah, right. Ibis.
Ibis. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so for my animal census question, obviously see what the hunters are getting out of like living in this area, but in that like symbiotic relationship, what are the Carcharaptors getting from the hunters that's worth tolerating them, basically?
The Carcharaptors clearly believe that the huntsmen are canaries in a coal mine. There are several stations of them, and they believe that if something really bad is going to come this way, they're going to chomp through the huntsmen before they get to the Carcharaptors. So they're kind of an early warning system.
Very nice way to put it.
Maybe, yeah, I mean, maybe you could offer some of that, like, integration and symbiotic nature that you've been building up with the cultivar to, like, these human hunters to make them better better agents and protectors.
So
like a lore roll, maybe?
Yeah, I like the lore roll on that. You gonna roll with advantage?
I'm definitely gonna roll with advantage. Yeah, I think some of the like color drains out of some of Ibis's feathers as he's talking with you, Nuri, as he's suggesting this, and you like have some examples of this cultivar integration and this like nano stuff that he has built into his skin is flowing into yours and hopefully doing good things to the cultivar parts of you, but
yeah.
Let's see. Also you. Oh my fuck.
I'm not looking.
It's a 5. I rolled a 3, 1, 1.
So what I think we have happen here is a dreadful miscommunication. That sort of following up from this, Nuri attempts to use force, to demonstrate his skills and to threaten. And Ibis, you're trying to help, but some of these Carcharaptors kind of begin to pick up that Nuri is of the Starg, of the family that came in. And you get these Carcharaptors, they are mad, and they call in their people to surround, and they demand that you give them one of you.
I can't imagine which of us they prefer.
Essentially, they say, we will only talk further if you give us one of you.
All right. I feel like now is time to bring in this backstory thing between characters, because I don't think we've played with this much yet. So Vuju feels that Nuri can teach me to understand this new world. So Vuju has come to really value Nuri and Nuri's knowledge. I think Nuri, what? So you've like taught Vuju some things. What have you like? What kind of connection do we have? What have you been able to teach Vuju about this new world?
I think it's my relationship with your character is you're smart enough to be worth keeping around. So there's sort of this intellectual exchange. I think it's the cultivar. It's the knowledge that we're able to merge with the cultivar, and we had our eyes set on these carcaraptors. They were going to be like the next thing. So you may be privy to that.
Yeah. The and just your and Buju, I think Buju really trusts Nuri and sees Nuri as a huge asset. And the Vayu, they don't abandon willfully any of their own. So we're gonna refuse. Buju's like, no, we're standing together, every one of us, even Nuri. We'll take the consequences, but we're not going to give you any of us. We're leaving here together.
All right. So I think that's fiercely assault to drive off your enemies.
All right.
Who wants to roll lead on the force there then?
If no one else wants to do it, it is kind of my thing. Is it red in tooth and claw is the move? Roll plus force. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that.
So what'd you get?
Well, I haven't rolled, but I'm just saying, is that move appropriate for this?
Before roll force. So yeah, this is to set up. So let's have you roll that.
Okay, so that's plus my force is 1. Give me a second to roll that. Hopefully way better than less garbage. Well, I got an 8 total. It's better.
Okay, so you get 2 hold off of red and tooth and claw, and then you're going to fiercely assault.
Yeah. So let's do, so the 2 hold, I can spend this, right? So,
yeah.
So I'm gonna slice away their weaponry.
So it won't do as much harm to you.
Yeah. And it says carve something valuable from your target. Separate your target from one of their allies. Could we separate one of them also to make them really vulnerable, like their leader? Or is that going too far there? Maybe one of their lesser sort of troops.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's have you roll the fiercely assault.
Okay. Fiercely assault. It's also with force. Okay. That's a 10.
That is a 10. So what does that look like?
I think we just take out whichever one of their most prominent, the ones that were kind of like making this demand. We just put them down.
Okay.
We don't like hurt anyone else. Just the ones that were making the strong demands. We just gun them down. And
what is the 2 choices that you're going to take on the character list there on fiercely assault?
I think we should get that information. That's pretty important. Maybe that's related to the big kaiju. We find that out off of this.
So you want to get a data?
Yeah, maybe the one we separated is the one that we can get that from.
Okay. In fact, if you make that pick, I'll give you 2 data because the separation you did, and you've got 1 more pick.
Avenue of escape is clear.
Awesome. So they go in, but you respond in kind, and it is a fierce battle. You're able to get samples, maybe capture 1 or 2 of them, and you'll be able to get out of there, out of the situation. Darren, 1 wasteland survival roll to get out of here. Absolutely, to get back to civilization.
All right.
Don't you still have a pick off the fiercely assault roll?
Oh yeah. Let's see here. I think the cost is that those followers, they're the first against the wall when the revolution comes here. And I think that they go down under tooth and claw. Not all of them, because they're high quality. But there are bodies that are left behind to feed the revolution to come with the blood of patriots here. That does that seem like a fair cost?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Is that mechanically something like the quality of the followers goes
the
down,
quality
or
would
just
drop a tier? Would be my
Okay.
way of doing that.
okay?
Darren.
Yeah.
Ready? It's an 8, barely.
That is an 8. So you can get out, and on a hit, pick one. You lose something along the way. A member of your group is hurt or sick, or an obstacle or threat is blocking your way.
Let's see. We're at the. Where was the Carcarapt? Where's this nest again? Is this back down in the underworld?
Down south.
Don't see it. Oh, duh, okay, right there. I was like looking at it and see it. Gosh. I want an obstacle or threat that's blocking our way.
So I think that that essentially, we're not going to roll this as a consequence onto here, but we're going to roll it forward into the sort of the family level that the Carcaraptors are now on high alert. Like they are now patrolling the south. Like, you came into the territory, you came into the heart of it, you killed one of their leaders, and that southern area becomes significantly more dangerous for travel. They stalk the high grass, and they take people away, and they spend the blood of anyone that they can get a hold of. Does that seem like fair cost? So we're going to zoom up from that, which means that when we zoom up, Patrick, you get to make a pick on that, which is zoom out. You can pick a new role for your character. You can add a tech to your family stock. You can describe a lead on a surplus or remove a need, and get a data. You can gain a treaty, or you can discover a new danger, because we don't have enough of those.
Yeah, I feel like we're just really lacking in dangers. No. Just checking my playbook's roles real quick, but it's either going to be change role or scout information about a new surplus.
Okay.
Let me look real quick.
And Darren, what about you for your zoom out?
I think I need data, so I will scout information.
So describe a lead that might give you a new surplus or remove a need.
Wait, let me. That's interesting. Let's see. We now have the Carcharaptor killing fields, psychic damage. Oh, it's the Sorrow Domes. I want to go into the Sorrow Domes.
So you learn that the Sorrow Dome has what? Weaponry, defenses?
A
device to help you defeat the kaiju?
I want it to be the Sorrow Dome has, it's got technology that will like level the playing field.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our break. And when we come back, I'm going to check in with the families that we just zoomed out to. We know we've got some data on the table that people got. And we've got those things, but we're going to kind of zoom back out and kind of assess the threats here. All right. Take 5 minutes. I probably should have hit harder on those earlier fails.
I can see why my family has holed up in their area now.
Yeah.
This world is awful.
I am seriously considering doing this again for like a quarterly game, but with that fantasy reskin I was talking about, just changing tech to magic and that kind of thing. I'm seriously considering that.
Yeah, I'm totally into seeing any version of this go long term.
Real estate prices at the cultivar have plummeted.
Yes. So Hemian has begun to move across the grounds. We have this psychic Biolante moving and striking. The Carcharaptors have increased the danger down there. The Starg and the Vayu did manage to get some information, some pieces there, maybe some sense of how this psychic links work from the characters from the things that were harvested there. While this is going on, what were the Primogen up to?
Okay, so I think Moda has been getting himself into trouble. And so he's going to be upgrading from outsider who just doesn't get our ways back at home to full-on rebel.
Okay.
As he's investigating what's going on. And the rebel move for me here is when you decide the family is misusing their tech, say what it was designed to do. The GM says what side effects its misuse is causing.
Okay.
So I was thinking about it, and I think I think as part of this like move away from Drassel and the sort of whole dreams of Hemlock, the people in charge of the bloodlines have like hidden what the Lilac Chapel is for. Like people still remember it as like weirdly that's what Hemlock turned into, but it's just sort of this grave site in most people's minds. But what it was meant to do was be a conduit to talk to Drazzle, a way to actually communicate with him. They just the leadership didn't want people trying to communicate with it and messing up the situation they have going here. So that's what it is, and then you say how its misuse is changing things.
Because you haven't been able to communicate with Drassel, you haven't been able to figure out that Drassel is connected to the Killing Fields, and that the Killing Fields is an attempt to build another great tree that has gone horribly awry.
Whoa. Okay.
And you get a new move, right?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a stat bump just because I don't love any of the other moves in Seeker. But yeah, I was thinking about it over the break, and like, there's no way I'm going to get 5 more resources or 4 more resources or whatever to build a world tree. But I would like to have something happen with that, so I think a chance to communicate with Drazzle would be interesting.
Okay. What do you think that is? Is that conduct diplomacy?
So that's basic character level?
Yeah, that's a family move, actually, though. That's what I'm thinking.
Sorry, just trying to track. Oh, there are columns and columns. Yeah, meeting with one of their VIPs, I think so.
Yeah, let's have you roll reach. And then I'm going to come to Darren and check in on what the Bastion are up to.
Power up. I think I have tech. Yes. So yeah, I think I have some of the old like plant-based Primogen tech that's sort of been mothballed, put in warehouses. As part of my rebellion there, like I break some of it out and go to the Lilac Chapel, and the whole thing just like grows and blooms and leaves all of a sudden. So the whole thing just looks like fresh and growing and is scented with plant growth and flowers.
Perfect.
And then, what was I rolling? Reach?
You're rolling reach with advantage.
Ooh, good thing I did that advantage. Terrible reach. Oh, thank you. So that's a 9 minus 1 is still 8.
Okay. So you get 1 data. You're gonna have to give somebody a treaty who helped you. And you get to pick. You can get a meeting with a VIP, access to a tightly guarded location or item, or information on an opportunity or threat.
So I think it totally makes sense because Vuju and the Vayu had become interested in the Drazzle project too. That it's him that helped me out.
That makes sense. Does that okay work for you, Walter?
Yeah, that sounds great. I even would take this moment to add that if I think
sorry.
Yeah, the fictionally, I think it would make a lot of sense for the Vayu to be really into the world tree. So if you wanted, they would probably dedicate a lot of their resources to it if you wanted to give that a try. I know you mentioned a little while ago that you didn't think that was possible, but I'd kind of like to see that happen. That would be like a wonder or something. Just wanted to throw that out.
So you will get 1 treaty on the Primogen, and then what's your pick for the result there, Patrick?
I want a meeting with one of their VIPs.
Okay.
I want a meeting for me and Vaiju if she wants to come with the tree itself.
We'll do this real brief. I think you will get into the heart of the tree in a way that you haven't before.
Like physically?
Like physically.
Oh, wow.
Like physically, the tree opens up in a way that it hasn't before. And when you get in there, you will find the tree has its own spirit. It has its own sort of essence to it. And it is tended by creatures that are like those beasts in the killing fields. They look different. They're smaller. They're clearly adapted to this particular tree, but that is their job. That is what they do. Is they're the caretakers, the sort of the internal defense system for this place.
For clarity, are you talking about the Chads from the killing
No,
field?
I'm actually talking about the beasts that were modifying the Chads.
So just I love the sort of symmetry of it. All the horror that we had with those violaceous in the like tunnels and root canals. I think like as we're here in the Lilac Chapel and it's like flowering and blooming, the floor starts to fall away and there are these giant roots of the cathedral that go down into the ground, but they like open up and there's this root network that connects with the roots of the trees. And so we have this thing of going through them and starting to see the violaceous, and it's like the start of this horror scene again, but they're this totally different kind. They're caretakers and they're like welcoming us in. So it's this like inversion of that whole scene through the killing fields before.
And you can see that they clearly make like smaller animals, like squirrel-like animals and things. Like they clearly, like whatever is going on with the Chad outside with that adaptation with that virus, they have a version of that here to make sort of secondary helpers. And the tree will explain that things are out of balance in the killing fields. That it has been poisoned at the root. It has been changed at the root. And as a result, all of the ecosystem that should have grown another tree, that should have grown the female tree to this male tree and allowed more trees to emerge, that's all gone wrong there.
Oh, wow. What was, or at least what's its conception of that like instigating instance? Like what went wrong?
What went wrong is that one of the kaiju generations back before this was killed there and decayed into the ground, and that fallen beast and its contamination, because the kaiju were intended as a cleaning system, and so they absorb all the pollution and unpleasant elements in the environment. One of them got killed there and essentially released all of the pollutants that it had stored up into the soil there.
Oh my god, that's all the coolest. Just like all of that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of like stunned revelation scenes and sort of wonderment and visions of the world past.
And the tree says the only way things will be put right is if you can clear the pollution from the fields. And even then, I'm not. We are uncertain what will become, but it is the only possibility.
But there's a way we could work together for the future. We could move forward. If I prove to you that we were willing to clear this infection and help your kind spread, we could become as one.
And we'll look at they have the sense that the glare, the sort of focus of the tree looks at the value representative, the primogen representative, and says, "Prove yourselves, and we will speak again." And then boot you out of the tree. Root tendrils probably go and move you back out and deposit you outside.
Just sort of disappearing path behind us, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's come to the Bastion. Bastion, what have you been up to while we had the Karakaraptors, which I will never say the same way twice, by the way, operating down in the south in that whole war zone? What do you think?
Yeah, I gotta deal with these kaiju. We're being laser focused here. And
there's the psychic kaiju, and then there's the big kaiju up in the compound.
This Himian seems like a bigger issue. But
sure. And you got a data from your move, right?
I do want to uncover the secrets of the Sorrow Dome. I need some leverage in this. I got to prove to roll for your party that I can do this.
So I think that the Sorrow Dome is essentially a medicinal place. And it's a place that essentially makes cleansers and antiseptics and things like that to create a barrier for the psychic things. That's the way that you can keep them from holding on to you, is by keeping their sort of micro tendrils from attaching to your skin. And if you can do that and isolate the Hemian from that, it will wither.
We're isolating Himian from the Sorrow Dome?
No, from just the tendrils, from the psychic energy it needs.
Got it. Okay.
So, are you going to the Sorrow Dome?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is everybody okay with us zooming down to give Darren a lead chance on that?
Sure.
Does anybody want to do any family moves before we zoom down to that? Since that'll probably be our last big zoom.
I did want to do a family move, but it's possible to do at the end.
Okay,
well,
all right.
You said it's the last chance, but
yeah, we're gonna have plenty of chance after the thing. So anything go that needs, pardon?
I can save it for later if
okay.
that's the case.
Well, and remind me when we get out of the Zoom, we'll come to that right away. Is there anything that Patrick, you or Walter need to do before we zoom down? Okay. So tell me, on this expedition, Darren, this is Pelé leading on.
Yes.
With that then in mind, are you taking any other named characters, or are we doing just a team of quick characters?
I don't think I would invite anyone.
Okay. If everyone could please make up a quick character on Darren's tab. Darren has reformatted, or someone has reformatted that sheet in a much better way than mine was.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Can we clarify the approach we're going to take in the Stardome? Is this like sounds like an information retrieving session, or do we even know what's at the Stardome? It's mostly we're just going to go retrieve info.
No, we know that the Stars believe that the Sorrow Dome is sort of wholly in a place that they need to get to. That was established before, but otherwise than that, it's kind of getting into this strange place that people haven't been into and retrieving the tech that is there.
Cool.
So just as a family level thing, I know you said, Darren, you weren't like inviting anyone in, but we're still trying to. Very interested in this kaiju mission, and I had my crop of weird animals come up.
Yes.
So I'd like to use my treaty move in. Let's see. When you freely give someone the perfect resource to solve a problem, gain 1 treaty on them. And I have this stock of exemplary examples of the T-VAR. And if they're used as mounts, you get 1 free tag on them. So whatever you think the particular adaptation, like whether it helps with the psychic field or whether it helps with something else, these mounts can give some help.
Cool. Interesting. Mounts. I'm just picturing like crystal spiders so we can crawl all over places.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and just whenever we get into the mission and you think about it, they have a tag you can spread to everyone.
Oh, okay.
And when for your thinking about this, when we zoom in on a character, you can equip them with any of your family assets. And then for each of your surpluses, you pick a relevant benefit. Add a tag, get as many copies of the weapon, outfit, or vehicle as needed to outfit the whole party. Add 1 to the quality of a set of followers, or get scouts reports worth 1 data.
Interesting. I will for sure make sure everyone has properly sealed armor. Not doing any more pollutants. Oh, and then what else do we need? Let me see, what can I spend data on as a basic move?
Data can be spent to give you advantage on character moves.
Okay. Let's see, we have crystal spiders. We've got properly sealed armor. And I have 2 more. Yeah, I want more data because the advantage sounds like a very good thing to have. Oh my gosh, there's so many things to like tag or what are my benefits? Oh, and then I just wait. Well, yeah, I'll definitely take some soldiers, my cute little 1 quality soldiers. And then if everyone's making quick characters, I think everyone should have a bright halo for defense, aside from the properly sealed armor. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember that tag on those.
Sealed armor and a halo, so you look like Space Marines. Like Sisters of Battle.
Yes.
At the point at which my friends would say, "Geek check." It screamed at me.
And then I think I get to do a roll move, right? Because for the Sentinel, for Agent, it says mark and hold 1 when you guard an expedition.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think so. I'm not going to not guard it.
Absolutely.
I get to spin the hold to reveal a shelter my family prepared on an earlier expedition. So in case things go terribly wrong,
that makes sense.
You can sit safe.
I'll give you just a couple more minutes to get your quick characters, and then I'll have you introduce. Merciless eyes.
That's right. Pele's serious.
I'm curious, just so we can try and get like a balance of abilities or whatnot among our characters. If anyone has like their ideas already in mind for their quick character.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm going sort of tough and leader, getting in there and taking hits or taking damage for people or helping out with +1s.
I'm thinking agents, sort of a scavenger type.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with another outsider. I feel like I always run the outsiders, but they always seem to come in handy. So I'm going to do another outsider.
Yeah, we had an outsider not die on that last one. Shocking.
And we get the quick characters, get the family abilities plus the lore, or it's
what they'll get is they get the 1/0/0 -1 stat. They get +1.
Oh, 1/0/0, right? That's what it is.
And they get a inherited move and their roll move.
Okay.
Darren has also smartly copied the little inherited moves down below as a quick reference.
Well, somebody did that in the second session. I thought that was a good idea.
These are all great layout things. When I'm done with this, I'll definitely make a copy and clean it out for other people.
Yeah, I moved around the the stack of quick character.
That was smart.
Because there was one that was just stretching a box really big.
Yes.
And it was bothering me. So I had to move it.
Yeah, you know, it bugging me, but I was lazy. And I appreciate doing that.
Oh yeah, I get that way too. Anytime there's like a moves box, it's like never big enough. I'm like, oh, God.
So Ari, tell me about Silva.
Silva is the child of Pele. Is that all right? That's what I put down. And
how old?
She's I don't know, how old has Silva been around? Or sorry, Pele been around?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I guess
I don't want to throw
imagine.
this over. I don't want to like foist this on you if you're not cool with any of this.
No, I love it. I love it. I think that's super interesting. It like immediately gives our characters stakes in a relationship. I mean, imagine Pele being like 40s, 50s, with experience, but definitely still like mentally, physically acute.
Yeah, so maybe Silva's a teenager.
Mm. Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. The most sense.
Yeah. So teenager, she shaves her head. She's a little bit got caught a little bit of that rebel streak, but and she kind of goes off and like looks for stuff and turns over rocks and things like that when she's not supposed to. And she's just really good at that sort of stuff. She always comes back with something, kind of like a cat coming back with like their kill to show off. You know, that kind of thing.
Nice. Let me ask you a question before I move on here. Are you taking followers with you, or is it just the kind of the group of 4, do you think, Darren?
No, we're taking followers. I have soldiers that have 1 quality, and they can do suppressing fire.
Okay. So let's come to Tattoo.
So tattoo, I went with peer. It's also sort of rival. It's sort of frenemy. I think he's like a cousin of Pele's. They're about the same age, and it was always that question growing up, like which one of them was going to take over leadership of the Bastion. You know, there are several points where it was almost tattoo, but in the end, it came up as Pele. So there's that long-term family and friendship, but there's also that like undercurrents of resentment from both sides for like old coups counted, like won and lost. He's got a mohawk and a kaiju hide duster, just because why not be extra extra?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the duster is hiding some fairly significant like enhancements on his arms and chests. He shoulders. He gets up and like he gets his hands on things and likes to get face up with them.
Awesome. And then Barlow.
Yeah. So let's see. So I still need a relationship. I'm thinking. So I took for Barlow. I took monster empath. When I spend time observing a monster, you can ask the GM a question: what do they most want? What's hurting them? And also outsider. So I get +1 to a stat, which I'm thinking will be
Or advantage to a stat.
Advantage to a stat, right? Roll a stat with advantage, which I'm actually thinking. I don't know. I can't decide between sway or lore because I don't know what we're gonna find in there. I'm gonna go with sway. What the heck? I'm gonna say that I'm gonna lean on this like monster empath thing, where I'm just gonna say that Barlow is kind of this weirdo who like really studies monsters and is known to sort of take risks and like try and interact with monsters, and and somehow has survived so far to do this.
All right. So tell. Go on.
The relationship. Are we working much on that? What do you think my relationship would be with you, Pele?
That's interesting. I wonder, I saw protege in there. I wonder if, because the Bastion has turned to this sort of like strange, insular, pseudo-religious sort of faction in relation to these behemoths. So I wonder if maybe you were like this like chosen child at some point, and you're being groomed to like lead the people. And it's like my duty as the current leader to prepare you for that.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Just a little bit of backstory.
A little pressure. All right. Awesome. I like it.
Yeah. That's cool.
So tell me, Pele, people haven't gotten into the Saurodome before, or only a couple people have, minor expeditions, that kind of thing. What has blocked them from going in? What is the thing that has prevented crossing over into the Saurodome? I mean, one of the things is it's not necessarily wasteland around it. We know we have some settled peoples around it, so I'm not making you do the wasteland survival, but I want to know how it is you need to get in.
Oh, I think so. This was like a lab where they were doing research on like sanitation, essentially. Well, maybe it was like bio-locked. There was some like bio code you needed to get in, and nobody matched it. And maybe if I can be so bold as to inject this into the fiction, maybe we had some kaiju blood that did unlock it.
Excellent. And you've kind of got like a bio decryptor with a bunch of samples and things like that. Okay. So I want you to roll Forge a Path.
Okay. Let's see that. Oh, force. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm a very forceful guy. Okay, it's a 7. God.
That is a 7. So you get to pick 2 on the Forge a Path list.
What's the danger? The route we took is lost. Can't take your other characters with you. Oof. and took a lot longer than expected.
And then I have a
Yeah.
question for Tattoo.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the route you took is lost, and we can't take gear / other characters with us.
All right. So, is it that the soldiers are locked out, or is it that your mounts are locked out?
Oh man,
What
the
an
mounts are
ass.
so crucial. I was like, yeah, it's clearly the soldiers, but which soldiers be better? Well, no, because we can run on the mounts.
Oh yeah,
we
it's
can
cool.
skip.
I mean, for the four of you to be riding in on these mounts. Tattoo, what have you trained your group for? What have you trained them for, you think?
I like the idea of like we got these weird crystal spiders, and Tattoo is the first one that like trained with them, and so has led the group in how to not just fight together, but fight together with these spider T-var things.
And so we see you go over. I imagine that there's probably some gullies and some old metal bridge ditches that you have to go over, some biolock gates, and you know at one point crossing over to get to the sort of big outer walls of this thing. When the four of you cross through, it slams shut behind you, locking the soldiers out. And when you go back, the something has gone wrong with the biolock here. You're not able to open it up. And so the four of you will proceed forward into this place. And it is a massive building. The air is a little odd. It's a little bit maybe chemically, like a smell like you're not used to. And then the other thing is when you pass through this next biolock, something clearly happens. Like you're not sure if it's an energy field or a device or whatever, but there'll be like everyone's clean. Like you can feel like the outer layer of your skin is kind of peeled away by whatever decontamination procedures they have here. And all of you look cleaner than you ever have in your lives. And you will press forward into this place. Ari, tell me, what's the next stage that the group has to move through to get into this place?
Is this we're still open air?
So you're outside the walls, like need to you haven't quite entered into the big main part of it yet.
Mm. Maybe there's some sort of a what's that part of the building called? Brain's not working right now, but it's basically like that. If there's for like a castle structure, there's that part that you have to go through that's covered to get inside. What's that?
Now that you say that, essentially the main hall, the gateway, the entryway there. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a covered structure that we have to go through, and that has sort of potential for, defenders being there, basically.
And so let me ask you, Barlow, this isn't a roll move. This is all sort of our travel narration here. What is it that you do to help the group get through this darkened hallway and along this route that looks a little hanky?
Good question. So Let's see. I'm like the monster specialist. Navigating things isn't necessarily my strong suit, although I do. I am generally relatively knowledgeable of different technologies and things. I think I'm gonna think about like who was this. What was this built for? What was this constructed for? Like, I'm gonna try and decipher like what maybe lives here and what the purpose of all of this infrastructure is for.
And I think you'll look around and you will find essentially some of the mechanisms that are here that are actually like move the floor, like move the transit floor, like we're kind of in an airport. Like clearly this is to to more quickly move people out or in, and you'll be able to see those ciphers and writings, and you will write that in once you kind of start up that procedure, and it seems to automate the various gates and barred defenses opening up as you roll into the heart of this place. And it is pristine inside here, like nothing you've seen from the age before. Everything you've seen has been rotted or covered with fungus or twisted or decayed in some way. And you will ride into this place and this facility, and it's running, like it is making things, it is running. Patrick, what is the next obstacle that you need to overcome to kind of get to the heart of this place?
It's unmuted. So I think what it is while this place is pristine, it's very old. And while it's been cleaned, it hasn't been maintained entirely. So there are sections where like cleaning protocols or drones or whatever have actually started to like scrub away and eat away at the foundations and supports and things. So we're going through this like pristine looking hallway, and I think just the weight of one of the Aractivar like climbing on the wall starts to disintegrate it. And so there's this whole like hallway collapse that ends with Tattoo like under a support beam holding it up and groaning with like mechanical strength whirring in his arms as the rest of the party like scoots under.
And how does the training that you've done, how does that, what do we see that assisting you to get past this particular obstacle?
I think as I'm like groaning there and holding up the bar, I give just a high-pitched whistle that my mount picks up and like all the others pick up, and suddenly like despite what people were doing to control them, they all just like line up into a line and like shoot through this hole in a perfect formation.
Nice. So Darren, big open spaces in this place, crosswalks and things like that. Some of it has decayed, and there is this sort of last bit that you need to get through to kind of cross a chasm to get to what is clearly the internals. I will let you tell me how you do that, or you can roll Forge a Path.
Forge Path is a risky proposition.
Yeah.
But I do like the generative nature rolls.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll.
Absolutely. Roll with force.
Wait. Oh, here we go. 2. That's an 8 again.
So pick 2. Is this the point at which you can no longer use the spiders?
No. I won't lose the spiders. I'm gonna pick the route. Takes a lot longer than we expect
Okay.
because we have to use our spiders in a creative way. And oh man, that's the route we took is lost again. Things are just getting darker and
I
darker.
was gonna say, if you wanted to choose danger, I have stuff to like pull that onto Mohawk or onto Tattoo.
I don't wanna jump the gun on the danger. I'm sure
Okay, cool.
I'm sure we'll find some.
You will get to this sort of central facility. It's the cleanest part of this, and it doesn't quite have the wear down that you've seen in other areas. But as you are moving along, you will hear a voice go, and there seems to be some voice box.
Barlow, do you understand this?
I can certainly try. I can listen in and see if any of my previous studies with monster tech have are coming into fruition here. Yeah, I think Barlow wants to try and decipher if this is some variation on a language that Barlow's familiar with, some kind of communication, or even just like get some sense of like is what this communication is for. Like, is this a typical communication announcement? Is this like meant? Is this like maybe directed at us, or does it sound like it's just something over the PA? Definitely directed at us. Okay. Then I guess I'll try to interact with it.
Trying to
sure.
use the situation before it gets out of hand.
Is that the move?
Yeah, that is the move. Essentially,
Diffused.
I do call out the names of moves. You know, just kind of like to. So we know what
All right. So I guess this would be fast talking.
Do you think it's fast talking? Okay. Or do you think it's pulling together information to be able to translate what's being said?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Right, because I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, I guess it's probably pulling together, improvising. Yeah, maybe probably.
You can go with sway too, because you can burn that to get advantage. So I'm.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning for. I mean, is this like lore? I tend to think of lore as more technological based, but and sway as being like my
mark that harm. Roll sway with advantage.
Oh, well, I also have this thing. Let's see. I have this ability, Monster Empath. For each minute you spend, it's not a monster. That doesn't count for that. Okay. All right, then I'll just use sway. All right, here goes. So, all right, and so then I'll get a. Oh, right, I have to take a harm for that too. Okay, I'll take that. Loop. All right, so I got a 9 and then a +1. That'll bump it to a 10.
So it will. You're like gesturing, doing all of the universal gestures of calm, and you're speaking in basic tones. And after a couple of minutes of that, you will hear in the most broken sort of Google Translate thing, you'll hear, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
We are your neighbors, and we have come to we have come to humbly ask your assistance.
And you'll see a portion of the walkway light up, like do 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 do, like clearly follow the path kind of thing for the group to move on. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Silva, don't run ahead. Stay with the group.
And you will eventually come to a place and you'll hear, "You all need to dismount."
These spiders are going one way or another. All right, Barlow will get off the spider.
Yeah, I guess I will too.
What about Tattoo and Silva?
I mean, Tattoo will get off, but unless there's like heavy enforcement, he's still bringing the spider with him.
Well, you'll see a doorway will open up, like person-sized, like not spider-sized.
Could I break open a larger door?
I think they would certainly be exhibiting hostile intent, but you could.
Tattoo, please. I understand, but there are times for diplomacy.
Yeah, he was like halfway through ripping a bigger hole in the wall as he said,
Stop. Stop. Stop.
Fine.
Our enemies are the kaiju, not these people.
I say, Dad, that sounds like a robot.
There are rumors of those from before. Who knows what we'll find, Silva?
Well, they're trying to clear our biological matter from us as well. But yeah, maybe it's just to keep this whole mechanism running smoothly.
And do you go through the door, the four of you?
Mm-hmm.
And you will go through into this area. See this quarter kind of light up as you walk along. And eventually you will come into this area, bigger area, and you can see that this is a control center. And you will see there are these like 12 glass coffins against the wall. And you can see that in 11 of them are very, very old people. And standing there, dressed similar to whatever the sort of the red and green outfit the others have on, is this really old woman. And she says, I'm, and this is all getting kind of translated again through whatever thing she has. I'm the facility manager currently.
I'm gonna bow. I'm gonna kneel.
No, don't do that. So, and she kind of turns and looks and steps forward towards Silva, like seeing a child has sort of shocked her.
Oh, how long have you been down here?
Me? I've been
Yeah,
awake.
we're all old people.
I've been awake. Let's see. I've been awake 53 years, scattered over. This is my shift, so we get up for a year and then we go to sleep again. You can do the math, right?
Oh. I've got this. And what are you doing down here? Why don't you just come on out?
No, we would die outside.
Really? We can help you with that, right, Dad? We got stuff to help them.
Of course, people live every day, breathe every day. What do you mean you would die?
The environment is not for us anymore. You needed help? What is it you need?
we face great threats these days that I suppose you may not know of. Now, we think there may be a way for you to help us overcome this danger that threatens all of us.
All right. What do you need?
The channelers of my people told me about some hand sanitizer. Told me about some materials that can block the attacks, the mind attacks of a beast.
And you go through and explain the situation to her. I'm going to need somebody to roll find common ground.
Oh man, sway is not my number.
Barlow could do that.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I'm gonna use the advantage again. Now, something that I didn't do the last time is it also says when I take a harm to roll with advantage for my sway, describe how side effects twist the area or your body. And now that I've done this twice, I think after I make this roll, I'm gonna have to double up on that description. So here's the roll. All right, that's a 12 with my adding my 1 to that. For the description of how the side effects twist the area or my body, I'm kind of into the idea that maybe they're testing out this new technology to try to like take the physical bodies of the above worlders and like basically kind of like commandeer them because they realize that their bodies aren't going to last forever and that they eventually need to find some like new bodies to like join them here. And maybe they've like identified Barlow as a promising candidate. And so they're like, somehow there's some kind of technology here that is like kind of transforming Barlow into one of them or something.
Yeah, you can see she's kind of maybe realizing what's going on and but kind of keeping quiet about it. On find common ground, I need you to pick one of those.
Let's see. So let's see. A third party vouches for you. You can change specific parts of the task. They can back out as soon as it costs them. You reduce the threat you pose to them. You give them something now that's worth it. You reveal your full agenda here. Your faction family gets 1 treaty on you. How about you give them something now that's worth it? I mean, what if they are just like, well, I'll let you. You choose. That'll be my choice. We give them something now that's worth it, or do I state what that is, or let you decide what that would be?
Play. This woman turns to you. I will help you. I will provide you everything that you need to fight these things. But I cannot do that alone. And at some point, someone else is going to have to take over. And she gestures at Barlow and Silva. She says, he is being changed by the facility. I'm sorry, I cannot turn the clock back on that. But if she will stay, I will teach her how to run this place. She doesn't have to go into the cells or anything. Someone from the outside needs to know.
You're killing my protege and now you acquire my child? That is a heavy price to pay.
And she speaks up and says, do I have a say in this, Dad?
Tattoo will step between you and the old woman and say, no, you don't, and she's not taking you. I will fill the child's place. I will do what is necessary.
You are
And
too
it's
old.
sort of a twist, but I'd like to spend one of my hold to take a consequence of a roll onto myself.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Tattoo. It's
No.
been years. How can I ever thank you? I don't know.
Raise your
those
daughter
were-
to be the leader that our people need. I'll be here doing what our people need here.
We'll remember you. Your names will be written in all the books.
And
You'll
we
just
will,
be happy not to have someone threatening your rule, he says with sort of a laugh.
Let's not do this now.
and I think we will get a montage of shots of her like going over the control panels, bringing them over, and working through screens, and the machinery of this place coming to life, and manufacturing the sanitizer and sterilizer and antiseptics and that kind of thing. Essentially, this place was made for recycling and cleansing pollution and all of that kind of stuff, and it will begin to pour that stuff out into the hands of the Bastion. Does that seem like a good place to zoom up?
Man, that's what I get for having a child and
Yes.
favorite characters.
That was cool.
I think we have to go to epilogues here. I would like to move to things, but I think we really need to go to epilogues and then take some time to talk about the game. Does that seem okay? So let me start with the Values epilogue.
Okay.
And if it's contingent on somebody else, you can certainly ask them about some things. But what do you think we see here in this the rest of this era for the Value?
The rest of this era. I have this feeling that Vuju was at Drazzle and brought that information back to Valhalla, and I think they had a change in priorities from that, and they said, okay, like the idea that like these Corbel and our plan with them, that's like small stakes. Like clearly what we need to do is stop this expanding killing field and create a forest of Drazzle-like trees. So I think the Vayu are going to start just throwing all their resources behind the Primogen's effort to clean up, assuming the Primogen want to help with that, to like help clean up the killing field. And ultimately the Vayu have this like dream now. I think it's almost this promised land. The Vayu are like, yes, this whole land will be filled with Drazzle trees. We must, this is our purpose. We must help the Primogen make this happen so we can fill these Drazzle trees with Vayu nests.
Excellent. What about the Starg?
The Starg embark in a full union with the cultivar, and when the two come together, it ends up being the cultivar that assimilate the Starg. And after they have completely agglomerated all of our species, they commandeer our airships, they leave their ground space, and they travel across Hope's Edge into who knows where.
Like they've been programmed to do that, and now they have the resources and the technology to go.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And what do they call themselves?
It needs to be like a cross between what the cultivar are called and between whatever the stuff across Hope's Edge is called. Maybe the Hope something.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
No, that's okay. So we see them head out in that area, sort of left open, that all that crystalline human, or at least fleshy tech out into the distance in the sky ships. And what about the Bastion?
I think that we get our sacred Purell, and we are able to overcome the Hemion, and then eventually also, ideally, the other one whose name I cannot remember. But I think we don't know about the like pollutant radiation. Oh, aspergillus, yes. I think we don't know about the like radiation pollutant death of kaiju, so I think we caused some crises.
Yeah, like you kill them, but another area gets tainted over there, and you know, when you bring down our the Hemian, another zone is blackened by that. Though you are proud in your defeat of it.
Yeah.
And what about the Primogen?
So I think the leaders of the Primogen, they don't really understand what Moda has done with the Lilac Chapel. They just see it as like sacrilege, desecration. He's chased out of the area of sapling and the tree out into the world. And he's still working with Vaju to like make sure that help the Vayu with containing the edges of the killing field, but he knows that's never going to be enough. Like there's a problem at the center of things, and just containing the expansion isn't going to do it. So we see him out in the wasteland at the edge of the killing field. There's that like hard purple line right in front of him, and he's just looking at it. He's had these dreams of like seeing the Drazzle, and he's done that. His people don't live there yet, but he knows what he has to do to make that happen. He pulls out from his clothes it's a syringe, but it's like made of purple wood. It's obviously something from the Lilac Chapel that Hemlock has given to him. He pulls up his sleeve and injects it into his arm. And as he steps over the line into the killing field, his hair, it lengthens. It starts to turn brighter blonde. And there's a swirling mark and expanding tattoo that just runs down his shoulder, as he knows he only has a certain amount of time to get this done before the Chad virus takes him forever.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you guys. I apologize. I kind of pushed things there at the end, but I saw our time and I was trying to budget there. This is a game that boy, wow. Many more sessions could be played of this, and it would refresh itself in each age. I'm beginning to kind of come to an understanding of that. If you don't mind, I would like to take just a couple minutes to do the stars and wishes, and maybe even some of your thoughts on the game. Let's start with stars that you want to point to about other people's play, about things we saw at the table, that kind of thing. We'll see if we want to do wishes or if we just want to talk about the system after that. And I'm going to do the same order I just did. So, Walter, any stars you want to throw out here?
Oh, yeah. This was amazing. First of all, like, big star to you, Lowell, for like always pulling together everybody's crazy ideas and just making the world this like big, organic, interesting place that really came to life. It was so cool to see. Like, it really felt like a game of discovery. You know, I felt like every time we went in somewhere, we discovered something really fascinating about the world, and the picture just kept coming more and more into focus. So that was super cool. Let's see, the other stars, just like I really loved the quick characters, and I loved the interactions that we had in some of the scenes. You know, with the quick characters. I mean, with today with Ari, that was really cool, and like the whole interaction, you know, between Patrick and Darren about, you know, the child. That, like, those little moments are great, and I love that they're just like, these characters really only exist for like 15, 20 minutes, and then we're moving on. But we have these, like, I felt really impactful moments. That was beautiful.
There's a beautiful bit of being able to get headcanon out quick onto the table that I love about those quick characters. Ari, stars?
Yeah, first of all, stars to you for all the incredible resources you bring to the table for us to be able to, like, I didn't have to hit the rule book. Everything is in these tabs. That's a lot of work. I don't know how you do all that. And then just generally speaking, every time we zoomed in, I never felt like there was ever an issue with spotlighting, because anytime someone else is doing something in this game, I'm deeply invested. I'm so curious in what every single one of your characters is doing. In fact, I could even just not have my character and just like, that's really cool. Particularly like what you did, Patrick, with all of your world building and pieces that you put out there. Yeah, everybody's just amazing. Great characters, a lot of fun, and as you said, the zoom ins were just probably my favorite parts. Seeing the contrast between the high level stuff and then like the personal stuff.
It was something I wasn't sure about. I'm going to be honest with you, because I didn't do any of the zoom ins on the last time I played, and it's a huge mistake. You know, and it's really good. It's a really good mechanic. It's just when we played last time, all the players were like bunching all their characters together, so people never did quick characters. And if I'd realized how strong that would have been, I should have been pulling them apart and doing that. It's wild. It's wild to discover something completely new about role playing, you know, through the course of this game. Darren, any stars you want to throw out?
Yeah, big old star for the table for everybody, because I loved zooming in and grabbing a quick character, because I like we've already said, I'm just echoing Walter, but anytime I got to like dig my claws into like fiction and like say one thing or have like a quick little conversation was so good. And even like, yeah, those were really good. And then also that star for just like all the interactions I had with all the players were all super great. It was super fun. Anytime we did family moves and we got to do like whoever weird little diplomats, or bringing in our characters and kind of using them as a vocal piece, was always really good. I had a lot of fun interacting.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is each of the 4 sort of play sessions we've done has had a very different structure, has had a very different focus, which that's really unusual. Yeah. Patrick?
I mean, just so many stars. It's sort of repetitive, but I genuinely don't think enough good things can be said about the zoom in and the quick character system. It made this game month. It was everything for this. It was so good. And I love like how incentivized you are to not necessarily kill the quick characters, but drive them hard because there's such a good goal if they do die, sort of thing. Everyone was amazing throughout this whole thing. Just particular moments. Ari, I loved how much you were willing to just like get in with the monsters and the horrible, dirty things of this world and be like, nah, give me some of that. I'll put that in. Yeah, we'll merge with that. I am doing all the things. It was great. Darren, I loved how focused you were on the kaiju and how that led you to like desperation at moments where everybody else is like, oh, sure. We'll donate $5 to the kaiju fund, but we're really busy doing this thing over here. Just maybe come back next month and we can help you.
To get him gone.
And Walter, I really loved you leaning into the Drazzle storyline, and that sort of like not just having an impact on my people and the world, but I felt like I was having an impact on another people's, and like there was this long-term story of how the Primogen and the Vayu were going to grow together. Like, are they going to become these symbiotic species, or are they going to become rivals for these sacred trees? That was super cool. And Lowell, I just this session with the talking to Drazzle and getting the description of like what are the killing fields, what was this plague, what's going on here. I like my heart sort of skipped a beat when you're getting into that whole expansion of what the truth behind all this was just beautiful and perfect and wove in so many different elements of what was going on. Like I said, I could go on forever with good moments.
I really love that. That is one of the big roles for the GM in this game, and I've come to realize is taking all that lore and bits and things you put and going, okay, let's figure out what the logic is that I'm thinking about the world logic and kind of pulling those things together, and then I get the opportunity to present that, and boy, that's a really cool thing for a GM. I mean, I mean, you do it in all the PBTA games, but this game really asks the GM to be doing that creation and improvisation in a striking way. Let's do one around about the game itself, the mechanics, things you want to point to that you liked or had questions about, or just want to say something about. Walter, is there anything that you want as a takeaway or that you want to point to?
Wow. I mean, my overall impression is that there's just so many mechanics that are like, I think it's like a very nicely like clockwork mechanism. It all seems to work together beautifully, but it's also was like I hadn't had time to really like look through much of the sheets before we started, and it was like super overwhelming the first couple of weeks in particular. But like, as I think this is definitely the kind of game where like, if I think it asks a lot of the players, like a lot of PBTA games, you can just give one sheet of paper to the players and in like 20 minutes, like they're on it, right? Like, I mean, I've taken people who've never played a role-playing game, give them a Dungeon World character sheet, and they've got it. But this one, I think it takes a lot more investment by the players to really make it sing. Yeah. But I think it's worth it when it does.
A lot more cognitive load to absorb. It actually reminds me a little bit of Pig Smoke, which is the sort of fantasy university game, which has a lot of cognitive load to get that game to kind of figure out, and it has multiple playbooks and things like that. I'm glad to hear though that you felt like it opened up and you got a hold of it after a couple sessions.
Yeah, it's worth working to learn it. Yeah.
Ari, anything you want to say about the mechanics?
Yeah, I'm very impressed with how much variety of play we were able to get off of that palette of that map. That map was like each session, it kind of added things, and also a palette that changes completely. Like my focus character changed over. That was really interesting, and everyone else's, and then the passage of time with like the age, completely changing the focus of the cultures. It's just a huge epic kind of game, and that all seems to fit together like clockwork. It's really cool.
Yeah, pointing at the map, the map is, we do map building in some other games, but boy, really it does pay off here. And I like how much the start forces you to do that. It was a great reference. Darren, anything you want to say about the mechanics?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a high cognitive load. And there's also like moves for everything. Which is interesting. And
there are so many moves. All those quick character moves.
Yeah, there's so many moves, and then there's like moves inside of moves, or like the turn of the ages is a move, but there's also moves inside of that. It's interesting. But that being said, the way that the zoom in and the zoom out between like character and family balance themselves is so interesting, and it would be so cool to see like 12, 24. Like imagine if you were playing this with like a year to play it, and you could do 3 or 4 hour sessions, how it would become like Blades, right? Where there's this like mythical way that Blades is played, where you're just only ever having a conversation, and then like you casually move into dice rolls, and then it just happens. I feel like the same thing would happen here, where you're just like having a conversation at this like meta narrative level as a family, and then you're like, oh, we zoomed in here because my person needs to have a conversation with your person about this. And then like maybe we do a cut to this other character and we zoom back out real quick, and then we're going to zoom in over here. And I can see the like design goal in that, and it would be so thrilling to like get to that level. So I think it's super exciting. And I think I wish. Oh, what did you say?
I agree with you 100% on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my other thing I was just gonna say, I kind of wish I didn't go with the Order of the Titan. It was cool, and it injected a lot of cool stuff, but it just took me away from the other families, because my whole playbook is geared towards dealing with the kaiju. That I kind of just I would have rather had something that was more integrated in like the region building and the family relationships. I think that would have been much stronger.
Well, you also missed that for that one session too, which I think didn't allow us to have more of the kaiju stuff out on the table and have it interact with the other players. But that's a really good point. Is that it is a playbook with a very, very singular focus.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, you're going to get last word.
So I'm real hard pressed to come up with any wishes in the vein of like, gosh, I think the system didn't do this particularly well, because I just fucking in love with the system.
Yeah.
But wishes as like, I also will say like I'd love to see this in a longer form. There were so many different like little story formats and narrative tricks that I was just thinking of along the way. Like this time I was thinking about how cool it would be. It was with that child from the quick characters.
Mm-hmm.
How cool would it be to play a like young Spitfire in this game and then go through a turning of the age that doesn't go generations, it just goes to where they're like old and beaten down by the world. And how cool would it be to play the same character in different modes of their life? I'll also say, echoing some of what Ari said, that map drawing. I've never played a game with map drawing as a central part of it. I always sort of view them as like, because I'm not very good at like visual arts. I thought the Google drawing was a perfect way to like level the playing field of like, okay, just accept that everything's gonna look sort of cheesy and crappy, and lean into the fun of it. Like you can make things really fun colors, and you can like link up inspirational material to it, and everybody's on this like we're making crappy drawings together. But like like Ari said, the sort of like archival nature of it, where I'm so bad at taking notes for games, but I could just keep coming back to this map, look at it and be like, oh right, that's what's going on, that's what's here, that's what's here. And the elements of, as you're adding things to the map at the start of the game, you're also building the world fiction just based on the choices that you make, was so cool. It's like eye-opening. I want to add this map feature into as many games as I can, sort of thing.
It's very cool. And a great set of questions on each of the playbooks. That's one of the other things is to admire how varied and different those questions are that generate items onto that. Again, it's another demonstration of amazing work that Jay Isles has done with this. It's crazy good. Thank you so much for playing. This has been a great 5 weeks. I have dug every session. I have dug these characters. I've dug this world. It has been tremendous. Thank all of you once again. and I am going to stop the broadcast.